Hey everybody, it's Trags alongside Evan Lazar. The Patriots beat the Eagles 37-20 in preseason game number 2. Of course, these two teams met in February in Minnesota in Super Bowl 52. Not as much on the line here on Thursday night, but first point we want to start is the improved pass rush from Brian Flores' defense. 8 sacks of Philadelphia quarterbacks on Thursday night. What was the biggest cause?
Well, I would say that the two guys that are new to the team this year, although Derek Rivers was a draft pick last year, he didn't play last year. Adrian Clayborn, Derek Rivers, two guys that are a huge part of that pass rush this week, and you kind of see what those two guys can bring into the fold. Adrian Clayborn had the strip sack, obviously, his return for a touchdown. Derek Rivers had a couple pressures and then had a sack of her himself. So overall, those two guys, you add that to Trey Flowers, you add that to Dietrich Wise, a couple of guys in the interior, and now all of a sudden the Patriots are cooking with gas in the pass rush.
Asked Bill Belichick after the game about Ja'Whaun Bentley. He's our second point of emphasis here on Thursday night. He had an outstanding game. It was clear from the very first defensive snap when he was covering a running back split out wide that he could cover him in space. I know you had a chance to talk to Ja'Whaun Bentley. What sticks out about this rookie 5th-round pick out of Purdue?
Well, what sticks out to me is that he is a lot more athletic than we thought he was going to be. The MO out of him coming in the draft, and even my evaluation of him on his tape, was that he wasn't going to be very good in coverage. He wasn't going to be very good in space. He was slow, point blank. And I asked him, and his response was, "Is that a trick question?" And he kind of alluded to at the end that he, might be a little bit faster than he was at Purdue last season. But overall, what more could you ask for in 2 preseason games, especially out of a 5th-round pick, to come in here and basically just do everything well? Pass rush, coverage, run defense, the whole 9 yards. He's doing it all particularly well right now. So obviously it's just preseason. We're going to have to see if he can carry it into the regular season. But I really think the Patriots might have found a hidden gem here in the 5th round.
3 plays that'll stick out on Ja'Whaun Bentley all night. The first one we just mentioned, sticking with a running back out of the flat on the very first defensive play of the game. The strip sack, the fumble, the return for 54 yards, and the touchdown. But I thought that the strip of Dallas Goedert in the end zone to break up a touchdown, huge.
Yeah, he came back in that play. He kind of got beat a little bit to the outside, ended up catching up to the ball, being able to deflect it out of Dallas Goedert's hands. To see a guy that we thought was not going to be good in coverage cover a tight end who was drafted in the 2nd round, top pick for the Eagles this year, a lot of people's number 1 tight end in the draft, who was a really good guy, especially in the passing game, to see Ja'Whaun Bentley be able to stick with him in the end zone, break up a pass, that is not something that any of us really thought that we were going to see out of Ja'Whaun Bentley. We knew he was going to be a thumper. We knew he was going to be good in run defense, but he really has shown that he's a good coverage guy as well so far.
After the game, Tom Brady said Cordarrelle Patterson can do things with the ball in his hands. And certainly, ironically, it was a pass from Brian Hoyer in the 3rd quarter that really amazed the crowd and everybody watching on TV. An 11-yard slip, a sick move on Sidney Jones, the 2nd-round pick last year of the Philadelphia Eagles. He left him in the dust and pranced into the end zone. That is really the kind of guy that Cordarrelle Patterson can be in this offense for the Patriots.
Yeah, I think we got a taste tonight of what he can be offensively, just like you said. We weren't really sure, how much would they use him on offense? Was he really just going to be a return guy, or are they going to use him as a wide receiver? Tonight we saw him catch a screen pass. He almost ran it down the sideline for a touchdown. He ended up stepping out of bounds for about a 23-yard gain. And obviously the touchdown where Sidney Jones was left, grasping at air, trying to get Patterson one-on-one. Cordarrelle Patterson, fast, big, elusive. It's just a tough guy to bring down if you're just trying to tackle him in space. Sidney Jones learned that the hard way tonight. I think what we know is that there are certain elements of the offense that they can use Cordarrelle in. Screen passes, throwing him those quick passes like you saw Brian Hoyer do tonight. Maybe he's not the type of guy that's going to run 40, 50 routes downfield, every week, but you put him in 10, 15 plays and he breaks off a 25-yard gain. He breaks off an 11-yard touchdown in the red zone. That might be just enough to give them that little added element.
Flip side of that, point number 4, Eric Decker. He is continuing to have his struggles with the Patriots offense. Had a bad drop over the middle on a perfect pass, again, from Brian Hoyer. But the cameras showed Tom Brady and Eric Decker really talking at length at the end of the game, and they seemed relaxed. What do you make of Eric Decker and his roster spot on the Patriots right now?
It's interesting because Brady was also playing pass with him before the game, that was who he was warming up with a little bit, was Eric Decker. So you kind of see that him and Brady might be getting along, a little bit here. But at the same time, when you look at it on the field, what it looks like to me right now is that Eric Decker's just trying to figure out the playbook and figure out where he's supposed to be, and then the catching the ball is coming secondary to figuring out where he's supposed to be. So tonight he got in the right position on that third down play with Brian Hoyer, but then he had to finish the play by catching it, and it went right through his hands, maybe thinking a little bit too much. I don't know. As far as his roster spot goes, we were talking about this earlier, it's going to be really tough for him to make this roster. You have Patterson, Dorsett, Hogan, Edelman. You think those 4 guys are locks. You have Kenny Britt. You have the young guys, Barrios and McCarron. It's a pretty big logjam. A lot of people don't think there's a lot of talent, but it's still a lot of bodies. And I just don't know if Eric Decker, who's kind of late to the ball game here, and he's kind of looks like he's not picking up the offense too quickly necessarily, is going to be able to squeak in there right now.
Coverage, cornerbacks. That's a problem. Point number 5, Keion Crossen. He had a rough night, especially in the first half. He gave up 50 yards in defensive pass interference penalties on Philadelphia's first touchdown. And there was Jason McCourty losing a receiver in the end zone all by himself on the touchdown. What do you make of the Patriots in coverage?
Yeah, well, tonight was Keion Crossen and Jason McCourty's chance to kind of show that they could make this team and they can contribute on this team. And it was a pretty up and down night. For Keion Crossen, I'm just going to say it was flat out bad. I mean, he just really did not have a good game. 3 penalties, got beat a couple other times that weren't penalties. He just got burned. It just wasn't a good night. And for a guy that I really touted out of the draft, and they picked him in the 7th round, small school guy, but a really great athlete, tonight he really struggled with finding the ball. He just couldn't find the ball when it was in the air. He was impressed. He had his back to the quarterback. He looked to go turn around. First defensive pass interference call, he came too early. Second time, he came too early again, but it wasn't quite as bad as the first time. First time, it was a couple seconds too early. Second time, it got a little bit better. But overall, I think what we learned tonight was that when everything's in front of Keion Crossen, he's a lot better than when he's got to turn his back to the quarterback.
All right, that'll wrap it for the 5 from Foxborough. The Patriots beat the Eagles 37-20. Complete coverage on clnsmedia.com. Follow us on Twitter @PatriotsCLNS. He's Evan Lazar. I'm Mike Petralia, CLNS Media.